Welcome back to the Joust About Careers podcast. This is the place to learn about careers from the people who are actually doing the work every day. I'm your host, Brian Brott, and this week's guest is 2010 Van Buren graduate Luke Routzon, a state and nationally licensed EMT who is now a division simulation specialist with HCA Healthcare. In this episode, Luke shares how a typical day looks, how becoming an EMT led him to his current position, the importance of having a support system as an EMT, and much more. Whether you are interested in a career as an EMT or in healthcare, or are still exploring your options, I hope that what Luke shares today will help all of you make better career decisions and have fulfilling career journeys. Enjoy the show. Luke, thank you very much for joining us today. And I'd love to start out by learning more about how a typical day looks for you as a division simulation specialist.
For me personally, a lot of the time when I come in, we have a schedule that's set out by days, weeks, months. When I jump on, I immediately get things set up for the day, depending on what we have. So some days we have classes like today's skills day, where nursing residents who already have their nursing license, they come to us and they do about 7 to 9 weeks of training, learning floor or focus specific trainings for HCA before they go out to the hospital. So today's skills day. So today they're doing Foley caths, IVs, medication pumps, so they can learn as much as they can of what the product is that we have. On simulation days, I'm typically in here with one of our mannequins that is about $30,000 to $80,000. And what we do is work different scenarios with those nursing residents I talked about before. And we go through different scenarios to make sure that they can put the training that they've been working on to quote unquote real life with different variables that constantly happen. So typically on a day-to-day, it all depends on what the schedule is, but normally I'm making sure that everything's maintained. There's no issues with any equipment or product that we have, and then assisting the educators, making sure that they have everything set up that they may need for the day.
So when you talk about educators, are you one of those educators also, or you are kind of the facilitator between the educators and the students as the students are getting those experiences?
So for me, we're facilitators. But the good thing is that with the experience and knowledge that I have and Kaylee, our coworker here, has, that we have a background for me in EMS and then her as well. But with me working as a laboratory technician before at a couple of community colleges teaching EMS, I have some of that knowledge. And sometimes they, especially cardiology, ACLS, they'll go, hey, I don't really remember the algorithm. Can you refresh me? And I can talk and educate the students a little bit. Or, hey, here's a tool of the trade. When you do this, try and put a towel there. Or when you go to move this way, try this. And it's just little tricks. So I'm able to interject and work with the students hand in hand, but I'm not the one up in front of the class teaching.
Okay. Mannequins, obviously not cheap. How many of those do you guys have?
So right now, the one that behind me is called Apollo, which is made by CAE. And we have 5 Apollos. We have another mannequin from CAE called Lucina, which is a pregnancy obstetrics mannequin that does the same exact thing that Apollo does, where it can breathe. You can see chest rise and fall. Pulses, it can sweat, it can bleed, it can evacuate urine, bowel movements, it can convulse, it can do anything under the sun. I can change the pupils, make it blink, make it talk, swell the tongue, a myriad of things that we can make it do. It can also take defibrillation and show heart rhythm. So if they're doing, let's say, a mock code, which is when they do CPR and their medications, they can shock this mannequin because it has a ground wire in it. And it will show up on our heart monitor, which is back there, that they did. So it will send and receive information at the same time in real time, which is great. And we can record that. And then during their debrief, we can go over that. Like at this time, you had this happen, you had this happen. I can also say, oh, you gave atropine and you gave this much atropine. And it will manipulate the vitals because of the medication. So it knows what the medication is and says, okay, I just received this, so I should act like this, which is incredible that from a tablet. You would think that we would have this myriad of multiple screens and controls and levers. It's literally a Microsoft Surface tablet.
Wow.
The technology is that advanced, and I can walk around and do it. Right. So we have 4 of these. Lucina is the pregnancy, so she does all that plus gives birth. Then we have Luna, which is a baby, a neonate, essentially, that can do all the same things as well. So when we have the nursing ICU or neonate ICU students come in, the NICU or PICU students, or the women's services, which is OB, gynecology, labor delivery, mother baby, when they come in, we have all those mannequins as well for them to use. Now, even though we have these advanced ones, we have medium fidelity mannequins, which are Gino, and we have 5 of those, which can act the same, but it doesn't have the motor that the Apollos have. Right. So you won't see the chest rise and fall. You'll only get a pulse on one arm, but it can still talk and take electricity, send out information. And then we have low fidelity, which has absolutely nothing to it. I can pitch it out the side of the window and it's not going to damage a thing. Right. We use those for rescue for Air Care Eagle, which is our medevac team. Okay. And we'll go out and I think it was back in September. Back in September, we had Air Care Eagle here, and we did a ATV rollover in the back parking lot. And I picked up the mannequin, pitched it in the woods, and they had to go find it and then treat the patient from there. So I made it as real as possible for them to get down and dirty and watch them sweat and try and drag this mannequin out. Right. So we can do anything from very simple, not complex tasks all the way up to putting chest tubes in, intubation. They can do ultrasound and giving birth.
Right. Well, I can understand why those are so expensive because of that. Right. But that is amazing that you can do all of that and not have to worry about hurting a real human, but still get the experience. So you've done a lot of things that have led you to this point where you are working in the hospital and training and doing the simulations and so forth. So I'd like to go back to high school. When you were graduating, is this something you expected for yourself, or did you have other plans when you were graduating from Van Buren?
Oh, man. I didn't even know this existed when I got out of high school. When I was out of high school, I was still trying to figure out who I was and where I wanted to go. Every little thing excited me, and hey, let's try this or that, and just kind of putting my hand in a bowl of candy and figuring out what it was going to be for that month or year or right. what have you. As I grew up and I started to mature and learn and come into myself, I knew I wanted to be in medicine. How? I wasn't sure. When I started working in EMS, which was, I was licensed back in 2015, took about 9 months to do. And once I had that, I worked volunteer in Seneca County, and then I ended up scooping up a job in Toledo for ProMedica. After ProMedica, ended up going to the city of Cleveland and worked EMS there, and then went to Baltimore, Maryland, and worked in a small town called Bel Air in Harford County. And that was a live-in firefighter program where you actually lived in the firehouse 24/7 in like a college dorm, and you would run calls at night. You would go to school during the day, and it was an incredible experience, and it taught me a lot, and it really showed me where my passion was going to lie. Mm-hmm. And then my hand went into the bag of candy again and decided to go into disaster relief, which gave me a very different outlook at life of actually cherishing human life instead of looking at it as a patient or the numbers you see on the screen of your defibrillator and just treating the symptoms. You have to pay attention to the human. Where I ended up working federal for FEMA and did that. And that's what landed me here in Richmond. A little bit after that, got back into EMS and did 5 years here at Richmond Ambulance. And then I so happened on LinkedIn, found specialist pop up. And I was like, oh, specialist, don't know what this is. Simulation specialist. Don't know what that is. Read. It was kind of vague on what it actually was. But I thought it was going to be a laboratory technician job like I had before, working with EMS students. But instead of EMS, it was going to be nursing. A whole different animal. And I had no idea. And once I got here and talked to management and my leadership, I realized that this is an incredible feat that I was actually able to find. And I'm so happy I landed here. It takes everything that I love doing, which is education, anything medical, technology, and I get to throw it all into one.
Right. And that's cool too that you never gave up on getting to that thing. And you just, like you said, kept putting your hand in the candy jar. Now, if a student wanted to get started as an EMT, you talked about a 9-month program. Is that a certification, a license? What exactly is that, and what did that allow you to do?
Okay, so in EMS, we'll start out with the tier level. So the lowest in EMS that is certified and licensed, we actually get both, is EMT, and that's basic life support. You can do CPR, you can use a bag valve mask, you can do some airway adjuncts, but not intubation. You can give a very small number of meds, like aspirin, nitroglycerin, and it all depends on the state and the jurisdiction you live in, because the medical director that's over you in your company or volunteer organization that you're with tells you what you can and can't do through standing orders. And then you have intermediate or advanced EMT, which they can do IVs, they can do a little bit more and a little bit more meds, a little bit more cardiology. And then you have paramedic. Paramedic can do all the cool things. They can intubate, the IVs. In Florida, I know that they can do thoracotomies and chest tubes. They can defibrillate. They can pace patients, which just sends an electrical pulse to the heart to keep it working if it's running too slow or if there's an electrical issue in the heart. And that takes about 2 years to do. And you can either do just the licensure or you can do the diploma route and get your associates like I did. So EMT takes about 9 months. You can go to a vocational school. I know in Ohio you have Owens. They will have an EMT program, and a lot of volunteer organizations in the area will as well. They'll say, hey, we're going to send you to class. We'll pay for your class if you commit X amount of years. There's a lot of volunteer organizations that are hurting for EMTs and members as a whole. So it's a great way. If you don't want to pay and you want to do it on your part-time while you're working somewhere else, that's perfect. It takes about 9 months. And what happens is that you will take your final exam in class. You'll do your psychomotor testing. If you pass those, then you get your letter to test for the National Registry. National Registry is a certification that is nationwide, and it all depends on the state if they accept it or not. That, let's say, when I moved from Ohio to here, I just showed my National Registry card and I could get reciprocity, which means, I don't have to do anything. I could just apply and get my license done. The state license is what is your license to practice. So the state gives you your license, National Registry gives you a certification where it shows that you can go to different states or hold multiple state cards, just like nursing. So nursing, they have their licensure, EMT, advanced, intermediate, and paramedic all do the same thing. So we have to have the certification. You can let that lapse and drop and keep your state license if you'd like. I don't advise of that, because then if you magically move somewhere, then oops, you don't have that, and you have to go through the ringer to get it done and take the National Registry again. And it is not an easy test. That's the easiest way to run it down.
Right.
To, if you want to get into it, just do it. It's the basic of the basic. It gets you into down and dirty of what happens, what you need to do, that basic life support, and it opens the door into what you want to do.
Right. And I think you are perfect evidence of that, because now you've taken that, multiple steps beyond, but you had to start somewhere, and that's what led to that. Now, you obviously like your education because you have over 60 certifications and licenses. Right. So, Are a lot of those just came because of the education that you were getting, or were some of those specific that you said, hey, I want to go get that because it's going to open this door down the road? How did that work?
The certifications that you're talking about is for FEMA. And I know in EMS, you need to have your incident command structure, which teaches you the basics of, if there is an incident that is big enough, who's in charge? How does the span of control work? What's your role? What are you going to do? The basic down and dirty, so you understand it. And then if you want to keep going with different certifications, they're for free. You could take them online if you'd like.
That's a good deal.
What I was doing when I was in emergency management was taking certifications in my spare time that, hey, I'm working in accountable properties, which was anything with a US government barcode. I knew who had it, why they had it, where it was going, what it was doing, and I was in charge of that item. I would let you borrow it, but I would need it back once you were done. And I would have to take certain classes to understand that. And then I would start taking communication certifications, how to do emergency planning, or how does the national emergency communications work, which was a dreadful class, but it taught me a lot. And I didn't realize how advanced the communication system is and how much we need to know.
Right.
So in your spare time, you could take those classes. It all depends on what you want to do. If you want to just do EMS and then figure it out from there, get your ICS classes done. They're a headache. They're very boring, but it teaches you a lot. And if you're able to go in and set those certifications down, say, hey, I already got this done, it shows that you're going to put the work in. And it really helps you just keep pushing forward, because nobody likes to do it, but it's easy to get done. So knock those out, and then you can advance yourself from there.
Okay.
The licensures are all from EMS, working as an EMT, and then your CPR license, which you would need as well. You have to do that every 2 years. And I think teachers have to have the same thing as well, of how to do CPR and AED. So that is one thing that we have to carry as well. So ICS, our CPR, and then your EMT licensure is the three things that you'll need to work anywhere in EMS if you want to do that. But in the spare time, if you want to take certification because this interests you, or how does this work? How does infrastructure work, or how does communication, or this? The possibilities are endless. And that's through the Emergency Management Institute. That's actually in Maryland. So they have a college there that you could go to and take classes in person. A lot of my classes were in logistics, because I primarily worked logistics.
Okay. Yeah, and that's great that some of those are free, and it just whatever people are motivated to do, they can go as far as they want to go. So if there are students who are sitting there saying, yeah, I like the EMT route, I like even what you're doing right now, and maybe I'll take all the steps to get there, what do you think the big things are that kids need to know, both the good and the bad, about a career like yours, with EMT and so forth?
It is hard mentally. It really is. And it's hard physically. We are day in, day out. We're passion people. We don't get the highest wage around. To be completely transparent, when I worked 5 years here in Richmond, it took me that 5 years to break $20 an hour. It's hard, because you're there for the passion. You're not there for the money. You're there to help people.
Right.
And it just is what it is. But you have to remember that you're going to patients in random locations, in great housing or horrible housing or no housing at all. Anything from, oh, my toe's been hurting for 3 weeks and I want to go get a turkey sandwich, up to you walk in the house and it's a crime scene. And now you have to deal with that. You take that patient, they may survive, they may not. You could have tried everything in the planet to do what you needed to do. You drop them off and you don't have that time to reset and mentally work through what you just had to, because there's another call to take, and off you go. It's hard. You have to have a support system in place. You have to make sure you keep your mental health healthy. And that's one of the hardest things for us, because we're passionate people. We don't want to stop. And it causes a lot of burnout. Burnout's a big thing in EMS, where after 5 years for me, if I never see the inside of an ambulance again, I'd be okay with that. I can use my medical knowledge elsewhere.
Right.
And I mean, it is what it is. If later on I can go back to it, okay. But I pushed myself so hard, and I didn't take myself realistically and use my mental health correctly as I should have, because I was using my passion. And a lot of people have that problem. So understanding that it's not always a glorious job, that's the hardest part. And as you deal with that and you do it healthy, you have a whole career ahead of you. And if you use proper body mechanics and not lift with your back, then you're a lot healthier. So you just got to take it and understand it and know what you're about to get into and have that support system in place. That's the best thing you could possibly do. Yeah. I was on peer support while I was at Richmond, and that is one of the biggest things that is growing in the first responder world right now, is having that peer support, having that person that you can talk to in confidence, say, hey, that call really messed me up and I got to find a way to work through this. And they'll be there right step with you. So it's a good thing that mental health is starting to get looked at and starting to really take a lot of acceleration within the first responders to actually make sure that we stay mentally fit. And it's great. But yeah, it's a hard job, and you just got to be ready for it and know that when something's bothering you, you need to speak up and speak out. That's the best way to deal with it. You can't keep it internal.
Like you said, it has to feel really good to help those people. Do you have anything like the most fulfilling moment you've had in healthcare?
Oh man. I think catching my first baby, that was absolutely terrifying. But yeah. Once, and the whole time, my whole career, I'm like, nope, not me, not doing it, not going to do it. I'm going to pass it off to the first medic I find and run. Right. Not doing it. But when I walked in, it was happening. I caught it and did my thing, and it was muscle memory. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. My head's screaming, going, I don't know what I'm doing, but it's just muscle memory. Right. You know what you're doing. Stimulate, check your app guard, do all these things. And all of a sudden I was standing out on the porch, just holding the kid while we're trying to get mom out, going, I just did that. That's really cool. And just to see the fire companies smiling and joking and laughing. And it was really cool to have that experience, to go, not only am I the person that is the last seen by some patients, I'm the first person that's seen. And those are very sacred moments in human life, to be able to be there at the beginning and the end of life. That is one thing in EMS that is profound, and something that I hold very dear to myself, that I get to be that person. And how you treat that patient at the beginning or the end is profound and very sacred. And that's something that I absolutely will hold on to, every memory that I've had with it. And there's been a lot of beautiful moments from it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, you said it perfectly there. As we wrap up, and as you look back at your life and everything that you've learned about careers since leaving high school, what's the biggest thing that you know now that you wish you had known when you were in high school?
Oh man. If I knew then what I know now, I know that I would need to have focused more. I mean, I wasn't the best student. I can be honest with that. I struggled. I kicked and bucked and didn't want to follow the system because I didn't agree with it. And later on, that kind of kicked me in the pants down the road, because I didn't push myself hard enough and just didn't jump through the hoops that I needed to, that now looking back on, it was simple. I should have done the assignments that I needed to do, or I just should have studied a little bit and got that higher grade, because it would have helped me in the end. But it is what it is. You're going to get students that are going to be excelling. You're going to get students that are going to struggle, but they're going to find themselves later on. And that's the cool part, when you get to watch that student who was a pain all 4 years of high school, and now they're doing something incredible. They're going to find themselves. And for me, I wish I would have known, if I would have put that effort in, I could have put myself at a higher level. I could have went to college earlier and got that degree and advanced my skills earlier, but I didn't. I had to grow into myself first. And I think that even though how it worked out, I wish I would have changed it, but I don't think I would have landed where I did. So things happen for a reason. I think how it worked out, I'm pretty happy about.
Good. Yeah. I really like, again, what you said. Very, very interesting, Luke. Great to see you doing well. Really appreciate you sharing all of this knowledge. And I hope that some people will reach out to you to learn more about your journey, so that they can learn from your experiences and make their own journey. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much, and good luck as you continue down your career path.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
If you liked this Joust About Careers episode, you can explore previous episodes and highlights to learn about even more careers of Van Buren graduates. To be sure you don't miss upcoming episodes, please click subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you'll know when the next episode is released. Thank you for spending a portion of your day with us, and we hope you will continue to prepare for your future by learning just about careers.